Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Entrenched seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which every unit that we play gains resilience. Today we're going to play a very powerful deck that I honestly thought we had already used, but apparently not, with a bunch of powerful engines and some of the strongest cards in this event. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Scoia'Tael Guerilla Tactics deck that focuses on playing movement engines for a bunch of boosts and damage, and then uses some powerful artifacts that are some of the best cards in this event. So for movement, we'll have stuff like the Dol Blathanna Sentry to boost us whenever our cards move, along with cards that actually do the movement, like the Cat Witcher, similarly the Dryad Matron, and also the Treant Boar. Then of course, the best movement card is Gezras, for tons of boosts and tons of damage. But we'll add even more damaging engines like Pavko and Yennefer Conjuror, which works really well to set up one of those powerful artifact cards I was talking about, namely Sihil. First off, although it doesn't say it on the main page, artifacts do also get resilience in this event. That means that Sihil, which starts off with just 1 damage but builds up over time if we get the death blow with it, has even more time to power up than usual, making it extremely powerful. Then on the boosting side, we can also use Ale of the Ancestors, which because it will also have resilience, also has extra time to provide value. Then lastly, we have Great Oak, which, because we're going to be trying to play most of our cards in our range row where Gezras does his boosting, should be pretty easy to set up, making it a big finisher. So those are all the big cards, but now we'll flip through the deck to show you what else we have. And Avalac'h is just a way to help get those powerful artifacts. And Malena works really well with the Treant Boar, because if you have both of them down on the board, you can deal the damage with Treant Boar, and then use Malena to move it back into your range row, and every turn, dish out that 2 damage. And if you don't have the Treant Boar, then you can just use Malena to move around your cards to get some additional boosts. Then Spring Equinox will purify all of the units in a row, so if our opponent starts playing all of their best units in the same row, then use this to purify them all and get rid of their resilience, making them much weaker in the next round. Then Dwarven Mercenary is an alternative finisher, because we have so many engines in this deck, you just need something to play at the end of the round, so if you don't have Great Oak, you can use this. And the Mahakam Defender, assuming you play him in the range row where he's going to get boosted by a Dryad Matron or Gezras, should be relatively easy to set up as well. And then the Pellar gives us even more purification, again to remove resilience. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, the focus is on playing some of Scoia'Tael's powerful movement engines combined with some of the best cards in the Entrenched seasonal event. I think it's going to be really powerful, so let's go give it a look. Alright, so going up against Northern Realms here, and they'll go first. Okay, and we have some pretty big cards here. We have both of our big artifacts. We have Great Oak. We have Avalac'h, which actually is not all that necessary when we have these artifacts, so I suppose we could dump one of them and just use Avalac'h to get them. So let's do that. And Matta and Royal Decree can give us some of our other big cards. Treant Boar, if we had Malena, would be great, but maybe we dump this Mahakam Defender. And Yennefer, okay, sure, looks solid. Okay, it's a Griffin Witcher Adept, which makes you wonder. We're going to see more of those Griffin Witchers of various varieties. Would make Sihil rather difficult to pull off if most of their cards are going to have shields. Though perhaps if we put down something like Pavko, that could help deal some damage as well. Okay, they're going to purify Pavko. So let's use his damage to weaken the Pellar. And then we'll get the Dryad Matron down here in anticipation of using Treant Boar soon thereafter. So we're going to need to get some of these units weakened to set up Sihil. It's teleportation. Oh. Really? So that's your strategy, huh? Purify all the units that we play. Okay. Well, we can use Treant Boar. And combined with Pavko, that is enough damage to get rid of this Pellar. So even if you did have plans to try to teleport that again to purify this guy, then hopefully we might have foiled that. Rafford's Vengeance, okay, that's a little bit bigger. But those shields are still going to make matters a little bit tough here. Though what I'm wondering is what if the damage from these guys combined with Yennefer Conjuror, could help get rid of some of those shields. Now, Yennefer Conjuror is a neutral card, not a Scoia'Tael card, so that is going to lower Pavko's damage a bit. But that doesn't really matter this turn, because they both have shields. But let's just get rid of that shield. And it should be pretty quick for us to get these guys both on 7 power. It's a Griffin Witcher Ranger this time. And they'll choose to immediately give the boost to this Griffin Witcher Adept. And here's the thing. Yes, there is some synergy with using the Griffin Witcher Adept to transform all of your other Witchers into these guys, except when you do that transformation, you lose the resilience. So this one that they just transformed, no resilience on that. Okay, and finally, I think we can set up Sihil here. So let's play you. Of course, Yennefer's damage is always going to hit this Griffin Witcher Adept. But if we do Treant Boar on, I guess we'll go for the Blue Stripes Commando. And then use Sihil here, we can get the Death Blow. So now Sihil becomes stronger. And they do have Sunset Wanderers, which will come out pretty soon. It's the Archgriffin, in fact. Okay, then. Shield on that as well. Not entirely sure what we're going to want to do with that just yet. It's also kind of a weird choice in this event, because normally its thing is going back into their deck, which kind of negates the whole resilience thing. So, let's go. Dish out our damages here, and try to help set up the damage on this Griffin Witcher Adept. We would have probably preferred to have hit that, but of course, 50-50 chance. Okay, then Spring Equinox. Okay, so they are gonna do even more purification. Fortunately, they cannot purify Sihil, because most of those cards they've used are purely for unit purification. So I'm getting the sense they're gonna pass pretty soon here, what with their point advantage, and after having just purified most of our cards. So I think now might be a good time for us to use Matta to catch them a little bit off guard. And oh, that's not the card we wanted to see, though, because that was what we were going to get with Avalac'h Sage, so we might not play all of our cards in our hand in that case, and we'll mulligan one of these back into our deck in round 2. But now, let's dish out our damage here. Because if we do this, we can still get the Death Blow, and then Pavko has a little bit more flexibility. I suppose let's go for the Archgriffin in that case. Okay, then it's even more purifications. That is absolutely their focus for this round. And although they've been doing a lot of purification, we've been doing a fair bit of damage here, removing some of their units in the process. So they don't have that many things to carry over into round 2. And how much more purification can they have? So what if we go Royal Decree here, and we get Gezras out here, and we use him to boost our range row, first and foremost. Let's use Yennefer, and then maybe deal some extra damage to the Archgriffin. Okay, then it's teleportation again! Wow, they are committed. But the longer this round goes, the stronger Sihil becomes, and at this point we can remove that Pellar that they just played. So I think we're going to go at least one more turn here. Let's go Yennefer. Suppose we could have done Pavko first to level all these guys out at 7 power, but my focus is more so on actually hitting Rafford's Vengeance here, then going with the Great Oak, and hitting you, and then, well, just didn't really have time to line up the shot here on Sihil. But we can certainly do that on our next turn with Pavko. It's going to be a late Ale the Ancestors play, but it will gain resilience, so it will still carry over into round 2. Spring Equinox, yeah, I mean, they are just going all-out purification, but as I was saying, they cannot purify our artifacts, so Sihil and Ale the Ancestors will be our key points of carryover. So let's go Ale the Ancestors here. We are definitely not going to want to wait around to play Avalac'h because, well, we don't really have any artifacts left to use with him. So now let's go Yen. Suppose we'll move the Treant Boar back, it doesn't matter too much, but we'll poke with Pavko to set up the Sihil kill, and then boost. Do we have anything that still has resilience unit-wise? No, we do not. Okay, so needless to say, we are absolutely winning round 1 here, even if their last card is Yrden. And it is. But the key thing here is that we still have these 2 artifacts, and we can pass here and actually have card advantage. So, although they will have a little more power carrying over with their units, we're still looking good. And if we really wanted to, we could return the favor a bit with Spring Equinox. It might not be a bad idea to have one of them, but let's get rid of Avalac'h Sage. As we were saying, we don't want him anymore. This is a nice movement combo here, and we probably get rid of one of our Spring Equinoxes. Okay, and so the reason why I was not so concerned about them purifying everything is because we still have Sihil, and it is now on 4 damage. So that means we can just remove this Griffin Witcher Adept, and at that point, we definitely have better cards on the board than they do right now. Especially if we go Cat Witcher here, because that way, we can get rid of you, we can boost you, and then at the end of our turn here, that Cat Witcher will get rid of Geralt. Okay, then they use Donamir. And that is definitely a card that we will purify, at least at the end, and presumably since that's their defender, they're going to try to hide something important behind him. So if everything goes in the range row, then that just makes Spring Equinox even better. So now let's do the Dryad Matron. Okay, then it's Reinforced Ballista, which, if we purify using Spring Equinox, we would be able to destroy with Sihil. And I think that is worth doing here, because that way they don't even get the chance to use that damage. So, let's go for it. Give them a little bit of taste of their own medicine here. Then I suppose we might as well boost up the Dryad Matron. And I think they see where this is going. They've disconnected, but this looks a lot like a Rage Quit. And so, we will take the win. Alright, so going up against Northern Realms here. And we'll go first. Okay, and we have Malena plus Treant Boar, which is a nice combo, as well as Gezras, and Ale of the Ancestors for boosts. If we have Spring Equinox, then we probably don't want the Pellar in addition to that. Pavko gives us some more damage, and we can probably do better than the Mahakam Defender by getting something other than a Mahakam Defender. Alright, so let's start with the Treant Boar. Set up some proactive damage, which they will immediately proceed to destroy. Fortunately, we have some more damage where that came from with Pavko. Which they will also proceed to destroy. Fortunately, we can set up some movement with the Dol Blathanna Sentry, which they will not destroy. Let's see, they ended up getting... Oh, well. They got resilience from Musicians of Blaviken, which is usually what you want. It's just that you were already automatically going to get that. So now let's go with the Cat Witcher. And they will pass. Interesting, we did play one more card than them, so it's actually not the worst idea. So I suppose we'll pass here. We'll get that boost when the Cat Witcher moves, so we will still take the round 1 win. Okay, so we draw into Matta, the Dryad Matron, as well as the Mahakam Defender. I'm thinking we probably drop the Mahakam Defender, and Royal Decree is a very nice pickup. And it means we might be able to get a finisher with Royal Decree, so maybe we don't need the Dwarven Mercenary anymore either. Okay, so we're on 9 cards, whereas they are on 10. But we have 2 cards on the board, and they're both engines, unlike their 1 card that is not an engine. So I think we probably do still push here, despite being 1 card down. So now let's go with the Dryad Matron. Okay, they'll go with Matta. And generally, the longer the round, the more effective movement is going to be, so that sounds fine. Now let's go Dryad Matron again, to maximize our movement. They'll go Dandelion Poet. That'll give them another card as well, and it'll be Mushy Truffle. With which they go Caravan Vanguard. Interesting choice. Now let's get the Ale of the Ancestors down here. Get the boosts starting. Even more so than they already are going, so let's boost up the Dol Blathanna Sentry as well. Okay, then there's the Caravan Vanguard from their hand. And now we could even go with Mahakam Defender here, because if we put it in the range row, it should get boosted, and therefore it'll get boosted every turn automatically. Okay, then they have another Caravan Vanguard. And one thing that intrigues me here is using Royal Decree to get Avalac'h Sage. That way we can get out Sihil, which at first needs just a 1-power target to destroy, which we can't do yet unless we use a leader ability charge here to damage one of these 3-power units and finish it off with Sihil. So let's do that, and then let's boost, I guess, Avalac'h as well. Okay, then it's Teleportation, which they'll use to replay their Caravan Vanguard, so that is absolutely their recipe here. We do still have a Spring Equinox, which we could use to remove all of the resilience from their units in one row, so we'll probably move Dandelion, this Caravan Vanguard into the range row, and then use it there. Now let's get Malena down for some additional movement. Help facilitate that. And I'm deliberately playing her in the melee row just because our range row is getting pretty crowded. We are going to want to have as many units as possible there for Gezras, except we're going to need Matta there as well, so just want to make sure he still has some room to do his thing. So let's move you into the range row. Technically, the range row is not as good for us, for Gezras, because he damages in the melee row, but we're prioritizing optimizing the Spring Equinox instead. Really? You opt to lock Malena. I mean, it's not a terrible play, it's just that obviously we know Gezras is coming next. So now let's do Gezras. Let's boost him. And if we're trying to set up Sihil again, it does need a little bit of assistance here. So why don't we move a 2-power unit, namely Knickers, and use Sihil to take that out. And this is what I was referring to. The longer we have all this movement stuff going on, the better we are going to do. They do lock Gezras. Technically, we could purify him with the Pellar if we were really concerned about that. Obviously, he would lose his resilience in that case, although at the moment, he would carry over as a 5-point body that doesn't do anything. So I think now we go Matta. That will make this round go longer, which should help us more than it helps our opponent, and it also gives us the Great Oak, which, with a ton of units in our range row, means we can deal a ton of damage or do a ton of boosting. And even with Gezras locked, we still have a lot of movement happening. Okay, they'll go with Morale, so that's going to poison one of our big cards. Looks like they'll target that 16-point Pat Witcher. And so we could justify passing here, since we have a 41-point lead that is going to shrink pretty quickly after they use Morale to take out this Cat Witcher. But even once they do that, we'll still get boosting even after we pass, from the Dryad Matron movement and the Mahakam Defender. However, I think Great Oak is just a little too tempting here. If we go take you out, and then just boost, really, anybody. Except, I didn't even know all the answers, just would boost your opponent. So that's what we get for trying to use it at the end of our turn. I did not think that was possible. Okay, now they're going to reset their Mushy Truffle here for some additional golden froths. So I think at the very least what we'd like to do now is use Spring Equinox to remove the resilience on this range row here. So let's do that. That way, if we do pass on our next turn, they're not going to have as many cards carrying over into round 3. Okay, they'll go with Gascon Iron Falcon. We'll give them the Strays of Spala as well. The movement is a little concerning to me. Makes me wonder if they might be trying to set up something similar here. But I think, given how we still have a 30-point lead, we might as well play this last card and see if we can just take the 2-0 win. So let's go with the Pellar. And with the Pellar, I think we will Purify Gezras, because although he does lose the resilience, he will damage this row here, which is pretty nice. It also means we can use Sihil once again, and we can take out a 4-point unit with resilience, so that's pretty good. Then we'll use a little more boosting. And I guess we'll save our last Guerilla Tactics charge just in case. Alright, so let's see. That leaves us at exactly 100 points here. They have the Squirrel, which is a control option, yes, but doesn't really help with the whole we're still putting up points thing. And they just decide that they can't catch us, so they won't even play their last card. So there's a look at a Scoia'Tael deck for the new Entrenched seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.